I feel like there's been this recent budding trend of co-op horror games with titles like Phasmophobia, which I actually covered on this show previously and enjoyed immensely. Another big one that I've heard some talk about is Devour, and I'm sure there's a handful of others, but outside of those two I am completely unfamiliar with anything else. With the exception of today's subject, Lethal Company. I don't even think I need to provide any sort of background info to this game because unless you've been living under a rock for these past few months, you've probably seen Lethal Company everywhere. This game pretty much popped out of nowhere and almost instantly became an internet sensation, and all for good reason. It's really fun, and if it was anything but that, I wouldn't be talking about it here. I really love this growing genre of co-op horror games because it's such a brilliant combination that works so incredibly well, like sweet and spicy, or salty and sweet. There's nothing more entertaining than being scared speechless of whatever these games may throw at you, and then being in the presence of friends that will laugh at you for being such a big dumb Gerber baby. Oh, I saw another body.
Dots. More dots. Camera.
Dude, I'm out of here, man. Now, as much as I'm shoving Lethal Company into this category, it's not really so much of a horror game. Don't get me wrong, if you haven't played this already, you definitely will run into moments where pants will be soiled. Oh my fucking god, dude! But what sets Lethal Company apart from a game like Phas is that it really doesn't take itself very seriously. It doesn't go about setting up its tone and atmosphere in the exact same way, and when you take a look at the game's whole premise, you can see just how absurd it is. You're an astronaut of sorts working for a company where you're essentially an intergalactic garbage man, traveling from dangerous moon to dangerous moon, risking your life to all sorts of hostile creatures and environmental hazards, just so you could walk into some abandoned facility, pick up trash that's worth nothing, and sell it for dirt cheap so you can inch your way closer to meeting your unreasonably high, ever-increasing profit quota. If you fail to meet this quota within 3 days, you get terminated, quite literally. I gotta say, the first few Lethal Company sessions I had with my friends might have been the most fun I had with a multiplayer game in recent memory, all because we were absolutely clueless about mostly everything, and that's kind of a grand takeaway with Lethal Company. It's one of those games where it's way more fun when you don't spoil yourself on specific details, but instead go in blind and trust your own instincts. If something doesn't work out the first time, well, you either don't do it or you go again. Seriously, me and my friends killed ourselves for like 4 runs straight until we got to a point where we could start cautiously going through the facilities, until we got stuck again for like 4 minutes because we didn't know how to work the ship's terminal. One memorable moment I had was a time where every free moon that we could travel to had some severe weather conditions. One of them was flooded, which is fairly self-explanatory and not the worst of the 3, funnily enough, but we ignored it because we already did a flooded run and didn't feel like going through all of that again. Then stormy, which was entirely off the table because lightning gets attracted to any metal objects or electronics, and that's just kind of a pain to deal with. So our last option was solar eclipse. We had no clue what that meant, and we decided to go to it because it sounded like the least intimidating and annoying option of the 3. We traveled to the moon, saw that the sun was indeed eclipsed, and we still didn't know what to make of it. We theorized, but we ultimately came to the conclusion that it was nothing more than just a visual thing, just like how it is in real life, right? Oh, how naive and dumb we were. Turns out solar eclipses increase the spawn rates of monsters, so me and my good friend Casper both get mauled by a pack of giant eyeless dogs, while my other friends, Michael and Zach, apparently fell victim to what they described as a ground-separating earthquake, which actually probably was an Earth Leviathan now that I think about it. From that moment on, we decided to never go to anything solar eclipsed again. It was a lesson learned the hard way, but one that ended in laughter and not misery. However, this was only scratching the surface of everything else we had to learn about, like take for example the cast of monsters that you'll encounter on your garbage collecting adventures. If you didn't know any better, you'd probably think that the facilities are like your only safe havens apart from your ship. They're abandoned, you just go in there to pick up trash, and it's whatever danger's lurking on the outside that really awaits you. But this couldn't be any further from the truth. The facilities are inhabited by all sorts of nightmares that you will run away from at a moment's notice, no matter what it is. All these monsters are excellently designed though, and contrary to what you may think, they're not really the kind to bum rush you instantly, though there are some that do behave like that. These monsters all come with their own quirks, features, and weaknesses that you have to be mindful of and know how to avoid. It makes them super unique and interesting. One of the more basic yet popular ones is...
It's a dead end.
The Bracken, or as my friends like to refer to it as, Ungus Bungus. Ungus Bungus is always pissed. It gets pissed when you look at it, it gets pissed when you don't. It's just in a constant state of anger. As a new player, there's not really a whole lot you could do to avoid Ungus Bungus's wrath, apart from being attentive and mindful. You see, what makes Ungus Bungus so special is that there's a way you can know it's present in the facility without ever actually meeting it, and that's by coming across its little playroom which it always spawns with. Afterwards, just tell your friends that, hey, there's a Ungus Bungus somewhere here, let's wrap this up so we don't have to deal with it. Then there's the easy to understand yet incredibly powerful coil heads. If you're at all familiar with SCP stuff, coil heads aren't going to come off as anything new to you. They are basically SCP-173 or Peanut minus the whole blinking thing. Coil heads will not move or attack you so long as you keep staring at them. Then there's the aforementioned eyeless dogs, which don't spawn in the facility, but I do love the way you go about avoiding them. They can't see anything, so they're entirely dependent on their sense of hearing, meaning that sounds like footsteps or anything that comes through your mic, they will pick up on it, come towards you, and if you don't shut up, they'll kill you. As you can imagine, it's a nightmare for people with mechanical keyboards, or this hunk of junk that I have. The most stressful thing in this entire game isn't dealing with Ungus Bungus or Coilhead, it's dealing with an entire pack of these things. They completely transform this into such an intense stealth game where you're desperately trying not to make too much noise while at the same time hastily trying to get into the safety of your ship so you're out of their hair. It's so fun yet terrifying at the same time. And I'd love to see a sort of inverse of this concept, like instead of your voice or the sounds you make being a lure for the monster, there'd be a monster that impersonates another player to lure other members of your team. Now yeah, there is the mask, which does take the form of players who encounter it, but for this I'm mainly talking about something akin to another SCP, which is 939. A dog-like creature that mimics the voice of its victims. I'd love to see something like this implemented into the game, though I have no idea how hard it'd actually be to program, and I'm not even entirely sure if it'd even work, I'm just kind of spitballing here. Another thing to keep in mind that I think a lot of new players will easily ignore is just how important it is to recover dead bodies, because not doing this will cause you to pay a pretty hefty penalty. It can be rather difficult too, depending on the monster you're dealing with. Yet again, Ungus Bungus, for example, will bring a player's dead body to a random room somewhere in the facility. A lot of people say it'll bring bodies to its room, but apparently this isn't true. Another one is the bunker spiders, which upon killing someone, they will immediately cocoon them, making their bodies unobtainable. I actually didn't know about this. I didn't run into spiders a whole lot, and they're also one of the easiest creatures to avoid, which, thank God, as low poly as they are, they still do slightly trigger my arachnophobia. Before you ask, yes, I know there's a mode for that, and it is very funny, but I don't ever really touch these things, even if they'd help me out tremendously. The whole reason why I play games like these is to get freaked out. I don't know, having something like arachnophobia mode on is like playing Amnesia without monsters, it just ain't gonna hit the same. Though, of course, no hate if you do have to turn these things on, and I can absolutely understand your pain. If I did ever have to use something like that, I definitely would have done it for Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. Although, unfortunately, it wasn't at all an option in that case. Since the young age of 3, that movie's been the sole reason why I'm deathly afraid of spiders to this day. Anyways, sidetracked, goddamn. Bodies, make sure you recover them because they cost a lot of money if you don't, and you can use that money to buy tools that might assist you, like walkie-talkies, flashlights, shovels for self-defense, and most important of them all, the Boombox for moral support. As fun as Lethal Company is, I do have to be honest, it does become a little stale after some time, especially once you learn mostly everything there is to know. There's also only 8 moons to travel to that all generate the same, apart from the facilities and the weather conditions, so it becomes a little repetitive running through the locations after some time. Also, does it help that the moons aren't really all that visually distinct from each other? Like, of course, when you're comparing something like Assurance to Vow, it's easy to see the difference between these two, but when it comes to comparing Vow and a moon like March, for example, I always get these two mixed up. They're both forests, and the only thing that really sets them apart is that March's ship location is much more convenient, unlike Vow's. But if you ever do start feeling a little drained, that's when you can start bringing mods into the mix, and then it's like a whole new world to explore, filled with all sorts of technical hiccups and performance issues. No, it is all fun, but my point still stands. Thankfully, the sole developer, Zeekers, seems to be very ambitious and determined to keep working on Lethal Company. Going off of his post that came after Lethal Company's release, it seems like he really wants to make every update jam-packed with as much content as possible, so players always experience something new and it keeps the game fresh. which I really appreciate. I feel like this is something that games don't really do that much of nowadays. If everything I've said interested you, I very much recommend getting a few friends and grabbing Lethal Company for the price of $10. It's great if you're looking for something that's not at all competitive and you just want a grand old time with your pals. Speaking of which, I have recorded every single session I've had with my friends, and it amounts to roughly 11 hours of footage that are 81 gigs worth of space. I can't let it all go to waste, so I'll just end this off on a little funny moments compilation. Enjoy.
What's the turret, bro?
It's somewhere in here. It's down
see
here.
it.
to the
I
left,
see
all the
it.
way down.
Watch out!
Oh yeah, it's right there.
Oh!
You're good. I have to turn on you. Oh, what is that? Oh shit! Open the fucking door!
Hey, why wouldn't we go on this bridge? Oh, I was like, why are you standing on that side? Oh my gosh. So scary. Nice.
Go.
What it is.
Oh.
Uh-oh!
Oh shit! Oh my god, it's that.
Oh! Fuck this shit!
The noise you made. There's some TZP inhalers in the house.
Guys, you guys take off with the ship and I'll fly back to you.
We can't afford that many.
I don't want to lose the jet. I don't want to lose the jetpack.
We're gonna lose.
Michael, get ready.
Get ready.
Dude, he's not gonna make it.
He made it. Oh. $1,000.
Like, at least we have something. We're coming back with something, you know?
For real.
And I don't... Hello? Casper?
He doesn't even know.